So one of my loyal Instagram followers asked me if I could talk about the treatment options we employ to treat mind and body conditions. Many of my clients say, okay, Charlie, I get it. This pain is being caused by my brain, but it still hurts. So what do I do about it? Well, let me share what I call the menu of options that we use to help people unlearn their persistent symptoms. The process always starts with a thorough history where we review all of the medical, psychological, and social factors related to your case. This is arguably one of the most important parts of the process because the connections that we make lead to an alternative explanation for why your pain started and why it stuck around. Next, it's crucial to do a thorough physical exam to get clarity about what's true and what's not true about your body. The goal is to rule out structural and medical problems to make sure there are no physical barriers that might have been missed along the way. Most of the time, the exam is about ruling the body out as a primary cause of symptoms. Oftentimes, we'll identify things like adaptive change and deconditioning. Those aren't the cause of pain, but rather the result. These things are easily addressed and not physically dangerous. So once we establish that the body is not the cause of symptoms, then we establish evidence to reinforce that the brain and nervous system is the primary driver. One of the most important initial strategies at this point that's woven throughout the initial process is psychoeducating you about the new science of pain in order to start to reduce fear and instill hope that your symptoms can be unlearned and cured. This is arguably one of the most foundational and important parts of the rest of the process. And many people get what's called the book cure when just learning about modern pain science reduces fear enough to eliminate symptoms. The way we understand pain has paradigm shifted so massively in the last few decades that psychoeducation often has to be repeated and reinforced numerous times in different ways to be effective. While we love the book cure, it doesn't always lead to lasting change. And so a lot of people benefit from more specific and personalized strategies. Most people benefit from doing the more rich work of digging deeper, which often leads to more lasting relief, learning a lot about yourself, and meaningful growth in your life. Let me describe a few of the strategies on this menu of options. The first step is to greenlight people to start moving again. Remember, movement is not some goal that's meant for the future, but rather an extremely important part of unlearning symptoms. So supporting people with a thoughtful process of gradual exposure to feared and avoided activities is extremely effective once fear drops. Rather than making this prescriptive, boring, and rule-governed, people do so much better when it's fun and joyful and playful and novel and tied to their goals. Often the process involves identifying, evaluating, and changing limiting beliefs, negative patterns of self-talk, and intrusive thoughts. This part of the process is really about reducing how often you're reinforcing danger and instead practicing more accurate and helpful patterns that tie to safety. Another series of strategies that can be applied to really any part of the process includes mental rehearsal and visualization. This is, I find, the safest starting point for returning to these avoided and feared activities, including movement. But it can also be applied to really any stressful life situation, like a job interview or visiting family for the holidays. The idea is that the brain doesn't know the difference between imagining an experience and actually doing it. So we can prime the nervous system for the outcome we want rather than continuing to predict and practice the one we don't want. People can get really creative with mental rehearsal. It's really fun. And you really end up employing all of the senses, including the emotions. Turns out the emotion is critical to trigger the neuroplastic change that we're looking for. For some people, somatic tracking is a critical skill. And if you haven't heard of it, essentially, you're building the skill of reconceptualizing your symptoms using various strategies so you perceive them as less dangerous. And this allows you to sort of observe these physical sensations with more of a gentle curiosity. The goal here is to avoid judging the sensations, going back to old stories, and you're really not trying to change the sensations as much as you're just observing them. So instead, somatic tracking is about being able to show your brain that you're no longer scared of your symptoms by being with them with less fear and emotion. Of course, you have to understand pain to be able to do this, right? But essentially, you're showing your subconscious brain that you're no longer scared. And repetitively doing this ultimately results in your brain changing its opinion about whether you need protecting at all. Last, one of the most overlooked strategies, and the one that most people save till last and sometimes never even get to when it comes to unlearning pain, is addressing emotions. These could be emotions related to the pain itself, like the challenge and hardship of your pain journey, doctors and clinicians you've seen that cause fear, etc. Or they could be emotions related to past or present or future life stresses that really, for most people, often have seemingly nothing to do with their symptoms. But when you remember that pain is often meant to protect you from your emotions, almost as a distraction, accessing feelings can be an intimidating and really challenging part of the process. For a lot of people, emotions are actually objectively more scary than the pain itself. But doing this pays dividends and often creates really quick relief. But it also ultimately gives symptoms alternative meaning and offers you insight towards growth in your life, as I said before. As with somatic tracking, the goal is to become aware of, explore, express, and learn from your feelings by welcoming them. We say they all belong. And there are dozens of strategies to do this, including during movement, journaling, and social connection. Now, each of these menu items has dozens of potential strategies that might make up your personal recipe. Most people don't need to do all of these strategies to feel better, but it's important to customize your recipe based on your case and your preferences. This is really a powerful collaborative process we work together that goes beyond managing pain to ultimately curing you of your persistent symptoms. So if you're a clinician or person suffering from chronic symptoms and you want to learn more, please reach out. This is a really exciting and hopeful time in the world of chronic pain, regardless of how long and how greatly you suffered. All it takes for clinicians and patients is a little unlearning. I'd love to share more about my clinical practice and the immersive courses that we offer. So when you're ready to transform your life and/or your clinical practice, I've got you.